Hi, my name is Marya and I'm a mobile app developer. And I've been working with JB Rainsberger, who would like to have a mobile app that he can use to record his bowling sessions while he's off doing practice sessions. So we've used an AI or LLM called Bolt to build him an Expo based mobile app. And since JB is a specialist or expert in test-driven development, of course, we wanted to add some tests to the code. So we did that last time. We've got a bunch of tests. I think there are 31 tests now.
Yep.
And we're going to get started with running those tests. So I just wanted to hand it over to JB here, who is literally the expert on the subject. And he can talk about how we should do that.
Yeah, so one thing that I've been reading, some of my colleagues and friends who are more experienced with working with LLMs than I am have said that although typically in test-driven development we write one failing test and make it pass, then write another failing test and make it pass, and we resist the urge to write a bunch of tests at once, it seems to work better for reasons I don't quite yet understand to just let the LLM generate all the tests and then start making them pass one by one. So last time we asked it to write some tests. We just described a feature that we wanted to build. It generated 31 tests. We managed to finally get them running. And so now I think the strategy is just to let's try making them pass one by one and see what happens. Worst case, we won't get too confused. But now the big question becomes, like, in what order? Because it generated tests for um, storage, what it's calling storage for like the database loading and saving data, as well as for changes to the practice screen. And so the test first programming practitioner in me would say, well, I'm not here for evolutionary design. I'm here just to write code that works. So I'm going to go to the bottom of the dependency tree, pick the leaves, get them working, and then use them as the foundation to go up a level, up a level, up a level until everything is integrated and it works. But the test-driven development practitioner in me wants to do the exact opposite. Start at the top, simulate everything below the layer I'm working on, which in this case would be, I guess, the screen components. This is where I get to learn how React organizes things into layers. Um, and I saw that the tests that Bolt generated do simulate storage instead of connecting to real storage for the screen component tests. So I'm curious to see what it will do. I'm curious to see how much well, I mean, it'll act like a human because that's all it can do. But I'm curious to see if it gets stuck or if it encounters any of the regret that sometimes happens when we try to test a client layer without having implemented the supplier yet. Because part of what makes that work is in the process of trying to write tests for and implement the client, you realize, oh, if the supplier API were slightly different, this would be nicer, and you still have time to change it because you haven't committed to an implementation. I'm curious to see if we run into any of that here. I would be really, really surprised if Bolt actually said, hey, you know what? It would be better if the storage API looked like this. I don't think it will, but I'm prepared to be surprised.
Okay.
So let's at least make a few test passes and see where we end up.
Okay.
So here we are. Let's run the tests. That'll take a little bit of time. I think the first time we ran these tests, it took around 20 seconds, and now it seems to take closer to 10.
Yeah.
Ooh, 8 seconds. How nice. So we have 31 failing tests. And I guess we can look at the practice screen tests and choose a test to make pass first.
Okay.
So as a reminder to folks, the behavior here is to be able to discard and recover an active practice session without having to end the session, then go to the history and delete it. We can just say, I want to abandon this session. I'm having a really bad day. Screw it. I'm done. Hit discard and it gets thrown away. But because you might hit it by accident, let's recover the one and only one discarded session just in case I hit the button by mistake. So how about let's just start from the top and see what happens. Okay. So here's the first test, which looks like it says, let's make sure that there's actually a discard button when a session is active. So I've already pressed start. I have a practice session going. I should see a discard button there. And right now we don't. So,
Right.
okay. All right. Let's switch into discussion mode for the moment, just because I don't want to waste code generating tokens. And I want to make sure that both and we are on the same page.
Okay.
Um, now, let's see. Now that we have some failing tests, let's see. I want you to, um, see, implement.
Yeah, I want you to, it should be you.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to be overly polite here. Let's be
Well, I'm saying
unambiguous.
you're a grammar. You swap two words there. I want to you.
Oh, thank you. You're right. I want you to implement the changes to the practice screen by making the I'm going to refer to this by name, practice screen, it's not session screen, test TSX tests pass. However, I want you to work incrementally, which means making, only one test pass at a time.
Okay.
I will choose the test, then you make it pass. At each stage, make sure that all the previously passing tests continue to pass. Do not try to make other failing tests pass at the same time. Focus on making one new test pass each time. Don't generate implementation code that isn't needed to make the new test pass and keep the previously passing tests continue to pass. I guess that would be the way we could say it. Okay. If I were directing somebody in a training class who didn't understand test-first programming, this is roughly what I would tell them, although I might treat the human with a little bit more politeness. But that's
Yeah.
pretty much it.
Okay.
Anything seem off there or missing?
It seems.
Do I have a monkey's paw problem coming at me? I guess we're going to find out. Let's see how precise I was. So
Yep.
I didn't actually give it an instruction, so let's see.
Right.
Perfect.
Okay.
It's funny. He didn't
Cool.
tell me, Bolt didn't tell me how smart I am. Didn't tell me I was absolutely right. Although I did read an article, I think yesterday, about how Claude Code is overdoing the whole "you're absolutely right" thing, and this is
I
starting to
might have
really
read
annoy
the same
programmers.
article.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I thought that was kind of
It's going
interesting.
around.
Notice that it's proposing which test to make pass, and unsurprisingly, it's one of the ones that we thought of. Okay.
Yeah.
Make.
What if you click on that will that just choose it?
Well, so I'm curious. Let's stick in discussion mode for now. What happens if I do this?
Yeah.
All right. It probably won't be able to do that
Right.
because we're
So
in
set a
discussion
plan.
mode.
Implement
So
the
it'll
plan.
generate a plan. All right. So
Right. This is like push button coding here. You don't even have to type
yeah.
anymore.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Make it so.
Okay. Yeah.
And now I don't know to what degree we're going to run into trouble with the preview and stack blitz with the whole what do you call it? The
The
alert
alert
dialogues
dialog.
not showing up. I don't think we're going to run into any alert dialogues here. So now before I even read what Bolt says there, let's just see whether
Right.
by chance it does what I expect. Okay, woo, we have a
All
discard
right.
button. And presumably that discard button doesn't do anything yet, but the other stuff seems to continue to work. And discard does nothing yet. And end continues to work as it did before.
Okay.
Okay. Possibly impressive. Frankly, I'm not sure if it's impressive. Oh, we have a new made in Bolt badge here. This is new. I don't
Ooh.
remember seeing that last time. So that's gonna make pressing the export button more
Export.
difficult.
Yeah, nice. Okay.
But let's see what it thinks it did. So all it did was add the button. It's enabled, not disabled, has a placeholder function that will be implemented later, and has some reasonable styling. Okay. So now, if we run the test again, I really hope that we have one failed and one passing and 30 failed, and not by accident more. Because this often
Yeah,
happens when people practice test first programming. They might accidentally make more than one test pass.
right.
And that's even assuming it's accidental. Sometimes people, get a little excited and they don't.
Uh-oh.
Well, that's interesting.
Oh. Oh.
Huh.
Oh,
Okay.
Bolt.
Interesting. Okay.
Uh-huh. I wonder what happened.
Uh, Run the tests and check that. Check that. I don't know if I want to bother referring to it by name. Check that test now passes. I don't know if it can do that if I switch
Right.
into discuss mode or what. Okay.
You should run your tests.
All right.
Huh. Interesting.
What happens if I tell it to run the tests?
I apologize.
Okay.
I cannot directly run the test for
I
you.
can waste tokens telling you that I can't do it. Interesting. Interesting, interesting.
So once you have the output, please share it with me so we can proceed. Interesting. So what part of this are you supposed to?
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
you gotta actually copy and paste that whole thing. Fun.
So interesting. Well, at the very
Can you
least,
not just can you select it
yeah,
and copy it, or is that not?
yeah.
It's ugly,
The
but
problem is I'm not sure how far up to
yeah,
go, so that'll
yeah,
be
Mm,
that'll be fun. I suppose I could have done clear first, right?
yeah.
Let's do that then.
Okay, okay.
I presume there's really no difference between running npm run test and npm test, but so I'll just do both. My fingers will do whatever that they feel comfortable with. So let's see here if that did in fact, okay, clear did what I thought it did.
Okay.
Select all, of course, did not work, so I have to do it by hand. Well, this is already making the workflow a little less
Yeah,
great.
it's not ideal. Definitely not ideal.
And that copy did not do what I expect, so let's try that one
Oops.
more time. Interesting. All right, copy.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's see what it makes of the fact that that test continues to pass.
Right. Fundamental issues with the mod.
Interesting. Okay. So this is exactly the kind of thing that a human programmer would struggle with trying to do test first programming is sort of, it always starts with the question, how do I write a test for code that isn't there? So let's see here. The storage service object does not yet contain methods that the tests are trying to call or mock. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Let's see here. Now I kind of understand that, but at the same time, this points to some kind of strange way in which maybe either Bolt is trying to use mock objects in jest or the way that mock objects work in jest, because I mean, I guess there should be a protocol for these things, but it almost makes it sound like they're going to try to add implementation placeholders, which sounds odd to me. All right, well,
Well, no, I mean, it's literally implementing, it sounds like its plan is to change storage service.
yeah.
The util,
And
so
if
that
all, yes, and if all it does is add
just dummy methods.
placeholders,
Yeah,
that's cool. Although I'm not sure that the API, yeah, there's an interesting issue there, but let's at least see what happens.
okay.
We're already almost out of daily tokens anyway.
Okay.
Perhaps this is one downside to there's so many big changes at once.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
See, it made 8 tests pass.
What
That really
happened?
makes me nervous. I think it actually it did. It implemented
Yeah, because
storage. So okay.
um,
Yeah,
hmm. Did it actually implement them,
it looks like it.
or did it just add sort of mocked or
No,
like
see,
I
this
said,
says
placeholder methods?
there's load sessions that calls get item and actually tries to parse it and catches errors.
Oh, okay.
So already we learned something interesting. We got that's even itself, I think, an interesting place to stop. So even though we asked it, well, told it really, to not implement storage, it implemented storage anyway. That was its
Right.
preferred plan, which
Well,
again is kind of a typical test first programmer, inexperienced practitioner. Like it's a very natural way to start. You don't have to, though, which kind of then defeats the purpose of having mocks in the tests for the screen
yeah,
anyway.
yeah,
What's that about, right? Like you don't mock it so that you can implement it. If you're going
yeah,
to implement the storage and then use it to test the controller or the components, the React components, that's a choice. It's not the one I would always make, but it's not a bad choice. It just, it delays. Well, that's interesting. I was just about to say it delays implementation, but I guess if Bolt is going to implement the storage in 10 seconds,
right.
then maybe this is a better approach, or at least a satisfactory approach when working with LLMs. I don't know. Maybe it
It also,
changes the calculus there.
given that it, it's a so-called fix, right? It fixed the problem by implementing storage methods on storage service. It kind of sounds like it just wants to do the test-driven development approach of, if I remember you correctly, of doing sort of bottom up uh, testing. So we should have gone at it the other way. We should have had it implement or fix a failing test on storage service maybe and start in
Maybe.
that direction.
Yeah. Because I mean, I don't understand why, like, I can't tell the difference between it made a very human mistake of assuming that, well, if I put, if I need methods on my storage API, then I might as well implement them.
Yes.
Whereas you could just put dummies for the
Yeah.
sake of making the test, because I, from what I gathered, what actually happened was the test that should have passed continued to fail because of a type error on storage.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure all it needed to do at that point was implement the bare, like I'm now even realizing why would the discard button even need any of that stuff in the first place?
Right.
Something's very deeply wrong here. Like it really seems like Bolt did what the over-eager, inexperienced test first programming practitioner does and just assumed they had to build more. Like if I'm going to build any of it, I should build the real thing.
Yeah.
And then it sort of the good news is the human tend to like after 10 minutes go, this feels like a lot of work for not much benefit. I should stop. Whereas Bolt doesn't care because it takes seconds.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
actually, it takes milliseconds and then it takes seconds to tell us about it. So that's interesting. That's interesting, sort of how that changes the dynamic of guiding an LLM to do test first programming or test driven development compared to guiding a human. A human will have thinking and typing as bottlenecks and will not zoom ahead quite so quickly. Whereas an LLM will feel comfortable zooming ahead because it costs pretty much the same to zoom ahead than to, strictly speaking, just do the next step.
Yeah, and in one way, I think that's a drawback because
Yeah,
I think that if, especially if you were going to be doing test-driven development as a paired team, you would be discussing this as you were typing
yeah,
along, and you'd
yeah,
immediately be like, "Oh, no, no, I meant this. Could we do it this way?"
right.
And we kind of like we saw the implementation plan that it had, and maybe, it didn't realize what it was really going to
Yeah,
do.
maybe we needed to push back more.
Yeah, I don't know.
Um,
I just feel like you're throwing stuff into a black box and something comes out and
well, and so for me, the big thing is as soon as I saw 8 tests pass at once, that
yeah,
made me nervous, right? Because you don't like I don't have a good feeling for how big a step that is.
yeah,
Whereas at least if I see 1 test pass at a time, I have some vague notion that it's a smaller step, which is
yeah.
really what I need to feel comfortable. So
A lot easier to check what was changed, right?
exactly. Yeah. Now we have the equivalent of a little pull request to review
Yeah.
before we even take the next step.
And it may not be huge actually, but I think that storage service is going to be
Right.
changed a lot. Yeah, actually.
Yeah. Even though it's not big, it's just bigger than I expected, certainly. And I don't know if you felt the same way, if that felt
Yeah,
like,
yeah, it
ooh,
definitely
wow,
is.
that's a big step compared to what I was expecting. I just wasn't prepared for it.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess a next step would then be download the code, put it in my local Git repository here, check the diff of what it actually changed,
Yeah.
understand what it changed,
Yeah.
and then, evaluate that. Um, it's probably fine. It feels jarring and it feels like it really um, I can't tell if it impedes the flow only because it's unexpected or if it'll even feel like too big a step once I get used to it. If it
Hmm.
will still feel like, yeah, 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 I got what you're doing, but dude, if you make it 8 tests pass at a time, I can't trust you. You got to
Right.
work more incrementally.
So I
Um,
thought another thing that I thought was kind of interesting
hmm.
was that Bolt apparently disobeyed what we requested, which was that, we wanted
Yeah.
test pass. And I'm not even clear that it realized that it was disobeying. Like it couldn't run the test itself. So how would it know whether it was actually fixing? It didn't seem to have that level of like
Right.
grokking the
Oh,
entire.
that's true. I didn't even think about that. If it's not running the tests, then how can it know that the test should pass?
I mean, in theory,
Huh.
it could know it know
Yeah, yeah, yeah. If it's simple enough behavior, it could figure that out, I guess. But more likely, this is just, again, knowing that these LLMs are essentially unjustifiably confident bullshitters as a service. That's what it did.
yeah,
Which, I mean, you can't ask a dog not to be a dog.
yeah.
So maybe that's all it was. It just forged ahead with unjustified confidence. Um, and I can't tell, like I don't know enough of the mechanics underneath to know whether to interpret this more like I'm telling the human what it probably expects to hear because this is what other humans would tell it, or
Mhm.
if it's more like I can tell pattern matching what the next 10 steps are, and I'm just going to go there now.
Yeah.
I can't tell which kind of plausibly human thing it just did to us. Um, but it's especially hard here as we're doing these videos and wanting to keep things moving along. I don't necessarily want to sit here for 12 minutes and review what it did, but
Right.
maybe that's what it takes. Maybe it really does take one step, review the implementation plan much more carefully, tell it to tweak the plan. It might be interesting now. I mean, we're out of tokens for today, but it would be interesting, whether off screen or on screen, to use its implementation plan as feedback and say, okay, no, that's not quite what I want you to do. Do this instead. And
Okay.
perhaps this is how people sort of build up their like prompt constraints file that they use to guide how they work with these LLMs in their projects when they're working in more augmented mode. That's part of what we're trying. It's part of what we're learning here.